Okay, great. All right, so welcome to the Design Justice Network. My name is Renee Joy. I am on the unceded lands of the Timucua and Muskogee people, colonized currently as Orlando, Florida. I'm the communication specialist for staff at DJN. I'm a writer, artist, and tabletop gamer, among many other things. We also have with us Victoria. Victoria, would you like to give your introduction very quickly?
Hi everyone, Victoria. I'm based in Toronto, which is the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Mississauga and Huron-Wendat, and I work as a freelance web and graphic designer, as well as the node and working group manager for Design Justice Network.
We also have a third staff member. Her name is Taylor Simone. She works on special projects within the network. She's an artist, a graphic designer, and a really great person to work with. And I'm excited to share the staff space with both Victoria and Taylor. So we hold these sessions to provide more support for those who are interested in becoming a member after they've signed on to the principles, or for those who are interested in wondering what it means to even sign on to the Design Justice Principles. We often introduce the ways in which we're developing more resources for our member network. So welcome sessions can change a little bit over time as those things become updated. And they reflect lessons learned from our member network as it is, from the facilitation work that our members are a part of, and the effort they put into designing facilitation in really inclusive and accessible ways. And then we also provide an overview of how that network functions and operates. And it's also a space to gain some feedback from current members or former members, or folks who have recently signed on and are interested in expanding their presence in the network. We are based, so first, we're going to cover what is design justice. And in this case, for us, design justice is a concept that is illustrated in a book written by Sasha Costanza-Chock called Design Justice, Community-Led Practices to Build the Worlds We Need. Consider this a primary source for the network, although much of the network builds from that into all new ways. We've got a lot of different offerings within our own network around understanding design justice, envisioning how design justice applies, and techniques and practices that align with design justice as a set of principles and a framework. And to that end, that is exactly what design justice is intended to be. It is intended to be a critical analysis framework for how we move through the world with intention and the impact that intention has. So it's much more than just design in a practical sense or in an academic sense. It really centers on, the design any individual might have to influence the world around them, as well as systems in which design empowers the system or disadvantages people because of the power that it holds. And then we have here, Victoria, I think I'm going to invite you to speak on the next few. Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. So these are a lot of different philosophies, organizations, different people or movements that have inspired design justice. Design justice didn't just grow out of the ground one day. It's rooted in the work of these organizations, these people, and many, many more that we could go on and list. That's been a really popular question, and our slides have links to so if you're really interested in finding out more about complex movements or research action, you can click those links to actually read more. We would love to tell you all about them, but we would spend 5 hours together. So those are other sessions, but these are just for interest. And then the bottom link there is actually a link to Sasha's book that Renee spoke about, that you can actually read for free online. But it also leads you to the pages where you can purchase it if you wish. So now I'm going to just introduce the process of design justice. The image that you can see on the screen right now, we like to call this the, I'm at a loss for words, like the typical design process. And so by this, you'll see some green circles on the outside, a black circle on the inside with 3 pink dots. And that's the design process going on right there. The black circle, the design process, and 3 pink dots are involved. The other green dots are on the outside. So when we're talking about design justice, or when we're looking at it, we often look at it from, okay, well, if I can't think about what design justice is, what is design injustice? So this right here represents design injustice, or what a typical process would look like, which tends to center those who normally already have the most power, and the people on the periphery are those with less power and are not included in the process of design. I will explain this further in a second. And so when we're talking about design justice, some of the key things that we are thinking about, or we encourage people to think about, are who was involved in the process of design, who was harmed, and who benefited. And this is actually a tool that you can use if you, for example, in your community or in your town, wherever you're living. I'll give an example locally based in Toronto, that we had big companies and corporations in the city who wanted to build a Google smart home area in the city. And we took an analysis using this chart and asked these questions. And we actually saw that the people who are involved are not the people who actually live in the area or need that. But basically, fundamentally, when talking about design justice, we're looking at the distribution of the benefits and the harms, also called distributive justice, and justice within the process of that design. And so in these typical design processes, the benefits tend to go towards those who have more, who are more powerful, and less powerful folks don't reap any of the benefits, if any, or don't reap many of the benefits, if any at all. And so if we were talking about Samsung and Samsung building a new, I don't know, what do they build? Like a phone these days. And in this example, the people who have more power would be the CEO or the people at the very top of the Samsung company. It could also be people who are UX and UI designers, or people building the contraptions. Whereas the people who have less power are the people who are, in the factories putting together the phones, or the people who are mining the products that will be used to go into those phones, whether it be batteries or other bits and pieces. They are not benefiting from that process, but forced to do a lot of labor and work that goes into it without reaping those benefits. And the same in the next slide with harms. So they are getting, the less powerful folks are getting a lot more of those harms without reaping much of the benefits. So less harms go towards those that already have more power in that situation. Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse today. We can go for the next one. So now when we're talking about design justice, you can see that in this image, the circle for design process is big and expansive. The green dots are now at the center, and the pink dots are still in the circle, but on the outside of the circle. And for design justice, we're talking about the lived knowledge and community and experience of those most affected by any design process or decisions being at the center of that process. So if this were that Samsung example, all of the people that I mentioned, the CEO down to the folks working in the mines and the UX and UI designers, everybody's involved in the process to make it what it is. And by process, I mean they have decisions that they can make along the way as these things are developing and being created. And so this is a slide where you can read exactly design justice and the network. It's a growing community of practice that focuses on that equitable distribution of the benefits and the burdens, meaningful participation in any design decisions, and the recognition of community-based, Indigenous, and diasporic design traditions, knowledge, and practices. So when you read the principles, you'll see that that's one of our key ones. I think it's number 10, whereby we're looking at things that are already working in communities, things that people have done and practiced over the years. And we're saying, hey, these are good things. Let's continue following in this tradition and make sure it's still meeting the needs of everybody. So that's the focus of design justice. As a network, we worked for a few years to develop a mission and a vision that meets the needs of the community of design justice practitioners, and members and people part of the community helped participate in that process to wield what you see here on the screen. I'm not going to read it out because it's there and you can read it later if you wish, but the point of showing you this is that our members and the people involved in the network are very involved in helping us create the decisions and the ideas around what happens in the network. The same goes for our vision, as I just mentioned, but if you would like to watch or learn more about that process, you can see the celebration of where we launched the mission and vision, and just talk about that process of how that was developed with the wider membership. Same applies here. Sorry, so many slides.
And then I think I'm up next to give us a little overview of exactly how that membership network grew organically from a few key events and a few key ideas. So the Design Justice Network was born at the Allied Media Conference in the summer of 2015. A group of 30 designers, artists, technologists, and community organizers took part in a workshop called Generating Shared Principles for Design Justice. The goal of that was to go beyond a lot of the social impact design or design for good intentions that perhaps needed some more development around how to center those most impacted. So it challenged designers to think about how good intentions are not necessarily enough to ensure that design processes and practices actually become tools for liberation, and to develop principles that might help practitioners avoid that, which is often unwitting, you know, and ends up reproducing or reinforcing a lot of existing inequalities, even though everybody was well-intentioned and meant completely the opposite. So there are many ways in which the community of members have overlapping work and practice besides the Design Justice Network. And so a lot of that has been integrated or introduced into the network as well. Concepts like decolonizing design, data feminists, Afrofuturist speculative design, and designing for the pluriverse. There are a lot of, I think, resources that we make available on our webpage to support how members have brought in their perspective or their work as well. And we always encourage folks to visit that resource page as a signatory to help improve their work, even if they're not practicing it directly within the network as a member. So then this is a slide here that shows some of that organic work that happened, brainstorming the principles that now are a major part of how this network organizes itself. And we've got some other images here showing the early iteration of network members meeting at Allied Media Conference. I think, Victoria, you're in here? I think I can see. Yeah, and I think Taylor's in here as well. One of these days, I'll be in some of these pictures that we share too. I'm still baby, I'm so new. And I think Allied Media Conference meets biannually now, or no, every 2 years. Every 2 years, I think Allied Media Conference takes place. And that remains, I think, a place where many members would like to have a strong presence as well. So I encourage anyone here interested in building their future as a member in the Design Justice Network, become familiar with Allied Media Conference. It's going to be 2 years from now before the next one. So there's plenty of time to plan. The next picture here is just showing a couple of members. There's Taylor working on revisionings of the design justice principles. I really love what this shows us around co-creating shared language together. As a communication specialist and resident storyteller, this right here is incredibly inspiring to me to see the growth of a language together and the development of it. I really am deeply appreciative of that kind of process. And then here, this is the next year. So we see an even larger group of folks gathering under design justice principles at the Allied Media Conference. And from there I think where so much of the material aspects of the network have been taken off and have now produced zines, which I am so in love with. Another actionable resource available on our website that takes the concept of the framework of design justice, the principles of the network, and packages them together in a way that helps you understand the application of its theory in a really present, really enjoyable way. So I deeply appreciate, especially the Principles at Work zine has a printable that you can fold and make into like a little booklet that you carry with you that reminds you, like helps you center which principles are the most actionable for you in your current application of design justice. So let's see. Okay, you were in the back with your hands up on that one. All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how we structure the organization of the network and how we, bring in new voices and make sure that we ourselves are practicing the principles of design justice in the way that we organize as a group. So our structure includes 5 different ways of identifying, some of them overlapping. We start off by inviting people to sign the principles, and then that being a signatory means that you know that you're not alone in holding this ethic and wanting to take action on it. You know that you're part of a large and growing list of people who are incorporating this focus into their practice. And through that, there are ways that you can build co-alignment. And so from there, signatories often become members of the network, which, let's see here, I think, yes, I might be skipping around my slides for a second, so give me just a minute. I'm going to go back to this one. Right, so people who are signatories often then become members, and then once you're a member of a network, you're typically going to find yourself involved in some aspect of network development and network growth. And for those opportunities, we guide people towards working groups or a regionally based local node. And then folks often are also welcome to join the steering committee at certain times when we open up invitations for that. And the steering committee helps guide the larger visioning and development of the network. So this is a little bit more of a breakdown about what happens around joining the network. So joining the network after becoming a signatory gives you access to our Slack channel. Our Slack channel is populated by an incredible number of community organizers, grassroots organizers, and design practitioners in a variety of different fields. It also, becoming a member also affords you the opportunity to share your member story. Member stories focus on how a particular person applies principles in their practice and highlights where their practice lives in this world. And then we also offer care circles as a important act of resistance against many inequities and injustices. Providing a place to slow down, receive care is a member feature that I am exceptionally excited to see us offer. And then I'm going to sort of go through the next a bit quickly, where we also look to make sure that we're aligned with like-minded and similarly practicing organizations, so that we as a network are held in community and held accountable to how we move forward. So these are just a few of those organizations that we're inspired by and that we look to for how we develop our own space. And then our finances, we do have, our membership is a paid membership on a sliding scale. Membership fees largely go towards the operations and function of being a network. And we also receive funding from like merchandise and publications through Allied Media. We host workshops and talks, and then individuals contribute and donate. And so from those finances, how we support our members is we often want to try and recharge the membership with opportunities to engage with each other, opportunities to acquire stipends or other contracting chances to build work together. And I think, let's see here. I'm going to push us to, right, and then member stories are also an incredibly important part. I think I have, oh, I don't have the link. I was going to get the link for our latest member story. These are, these highlight some member stories that we've had available to us for some time, but we've also just pushed out a, made available our next member story this month. And then, great, thank you. That's Susanna Beltran-Grimm. Okay, great. And then we have also, you know, our members can join the working groups. Right now, the 3 working groups we have are Principles at Work, which again help create practical ways of those high-level principles becoming actionable steps that are rooted in the exact way that someone might be using design as a professional or in their life. And then the instructional design working group also focuses on how design justice can be elevated in the educational setting or in the academic setting. And then the final working group we have right now is the communications working group. This is the only one that is helmed by staff, which is me at the present. It has a unique place among the working groups as it helps complement the function of the network as it's communicated to the broader world. So members of the communication working group are offered a free membership for a year in exchange for their contributions. And those contributions can include newsletters, social media, YouTube videos, and other material creation and support for the network. I host open lab hours that you do not have to be a member of the working group, but you do have to be a member of the Slack to attend. And those can just help share network communication practices and also like workshop how we carry the story of design justice in the larger world. You can email me there if you would like to join. And then we have, I will invite Victoria to close us out for these last few.
Hi, folks. So my main role is supporting, well, goodness, the local nodes and working groups. And the local nodes, as Renee mentioned, are kind of locally based, and local can be defined in the ways that you wish for local to be defined. So for example, a local node, right now, there's a local node in the Mediterranean area, which is not a small area. It's Italy and Spain and all of the countries around the Mediterranean Sea. So folks are connecting and collaborating with each other, talking about design justice, thinking about needs or issues or supporting the local things going on in their communities. There are local nodes based in many places, in Singapore, for example, or in Australia, not Australia, sorry, There is a newly forming one in Australia, correction, or in Toronto, which is where I'm based, or New York City or Boston. And each of them focuses on a different wish of both the group or the needs of the community that they are working on and with. And we have a lot of guides, and we can't go into super lots of details in the presentation part, but we have question and answers after this. But we have guides around how to start one up, how to host a workshop, how to do various things. And so this is just a starting point, and we'll have time for questions in a little bit. In terms of the network as well, if you're not interested in a local node or a working group, but you're just like, I have these awesome talents, which we all do. Some other ways that people volunteer or participate in the network are doing some translations of the principles. I think we have them in maybe 16 or so different languages now, and that's been one offering that people have given, and that's pretty cool. People have done writing, so I believe that'll be part of more the communications team now, but writing, like they attend an event and write a report back and take some screenshots or tell us about what happened, and we'll share that with the broader network. And then also we're very much always open to other ideas of ways that people would love to participate and be involved. And so sometimes the reasons why we've held these workshops is just because people have lots of questions like, what is this network? What's going on? So we want to share just a little bit of some of the things that have happened, impacts overall. So there is an element of design education, but when we really think about it, it's more of design re-education. It's thinking about the design processes or practices that you've learned, and how can you insert design justice into those to change the way that those things happen, or how can you insert yourself in the workplace, or how can you change a process at the school or the organization that you work at, for example. Other impacts are lots of these workshops, lots of node and working group formations, members all over the world, people organizationally who have signed on, meaning that a lot of people in that organization are either participating or using the design justice principles. And then just, the growth and impacts of our membership and creation of different types of content around the principles. But with lots of impacts, there's always also room for growth. So some of our things that we've been changing or working towards are whereby things have been mostly volunteer run for a long time, whereby we are distributed geographically. It's an international network now, so time zones can be difficult in finding the right times to host different things. So these are always room for growth, and things that we will consistently continue to work on. For a while, we had no structure for the network, and now we have one that is loose and is taking some more shape and is helping guide how that our work and how our support for the membership and network can happen. And some difficulties around like organizing around the principles, like how do I use this in my work? And that's a very popular question, and we're super here to support making that work for people. And the mission, vision, and intentions, that's as I mentioned earlier, a way that our membership really participated to bring about words that really describe the network. And so we realized we didn't have one. And in 2020, we realized, okay, we actually need one. And we started a process of about 1.5 years to develop that with our membership and the network. And you can read more in the slide, of course. So our final, I guess, slide or step is just links, important links. If you wish to become a signatory and you haven't read the principles yet, you can read them and sign on. And then also if you wish to join a member or any of our working groups and that type of thing, those are some links that you can use. What we're going to do is move into kind of a Q&A section now. And I will pass it back over to Renee.
Great. I'm going to stop the recording because we're at the end of our recorded session. and we are a